Top of the SportsMax Zone for this Tuesday. We're starting out with news out of Barbados on the SportsMax Zone. The Barbados Secondary Schools Athletic Championship, BSAC, is set to start Thursday, and it will continue on Friday at the Usain Bolt Sports Complex. Sporting events come roaring back to life following 2 years of COVID-enforced lockdowns. The recent easing of restrictions by Health Minister Ian Gooding-Edgehill has given administrators the space to organise important calendar events, including the National Primary Schools Athletic Championships set for later this year. Horse racing fans are once again welcome at the Garrison Savannah, while unvaccinated athletes are clear to compete in football, cricket and other outdoor sports. Joining us to talk about these developments is the Minister of Sport, Youth and Community Development in Barbados, Charles Griffith. Minister Griffith, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. Great to have you on for the first time.
Thank you. A blessing to be here.
Yeah, let me start here, because this COVID-19 issue has, in some ways, been very divisive in societies. What has been the public reaction to news from the sporting administration in the country that things are freeing up and a lot of relaxation as far as the COVID-19 protocols are concerned? What the public reaction? What has it been?
It has been a welcome news from the majority of persons who are involved in sports. Like you said at the top, 2.5 years of not being out and engaging in sports, it severely impacted a lot of our national federations in terms of their preparation for sports. This also impacted commerce, because you had persons who, for example, at horse racing, would have been able to come out and to sell, food and different things. So there was a trickle-down impact all around. And now that sports is back, we are seeing persons are exceedingly happy to have it back. But government was always going to follow the protocols to make sure that, we did everything that was necessary to keep our athletes safe and to keep spectators safe. So now that we're back, it is a welcome thing all across the island.
Yeah, so what is it then from the Health Ministry that would have provided the statistics to government overall to allow them the decision to, unbridle some of the strict, protocols that had been there before?
Yeah, well, it was just a matter, Lance, of following the science. For example, the last test match, we had a situation where all of those persons who were entering the Kensington Open had to be fully vaccinated. So we were following the science, and we were taking all the recommendations that were coming from the Ministry of Health. They were convinced in their mind based on the COVID that we could have restarted sports. So we were following the science, and by so doing, all of the protocols that were necessary for the different disciplines were put in place.
Yeah, I understand that there will be different protocols or requirements for indoor versus outdoor sports. Can you just tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, so for those outdoor non-contact sports, we're treating it as low risk, so you have to be vaccinated to do that. For those particular events that are happening indoors, the rapid antigen test is required for those spectators and those people who are taking part in that particular sport. So, for example, if you have basketball that is being played indoors, you would have the rapid tests available for players and spectators who are entering the facility.
Yeah, what I think is very important is the fact that it's a phased reopening, and it's not just this massive reopening of the sporting sector. Recently, you had the second test, West Indies versus England in Barbados. How important is it that, these phases, these initial phases, go well to ensure that, Barbados, and where sports is concerned, it's back to what we know as normal?
Yeah, well, the test match, sports tourism is something that is high on the government's agenda. And we try to make sure that the environment at Kensington Oval was as safe as possible for not only the players, but for spectators as well. So we required that every single person who entered the complex that should have been fully vaccinated. We had persons who were at the doors that were making sure that that was the case. So the environment was almost like a bubble, so to speak, at Kensington Oval. We had all of the necessary resources in place in terms of the health people to do the checks. So it was a safe environment.
Minister, sport will only be regarded as being really back when those in the communities can get back to enjoying sport on a Sunday or on a public holiday in the way they used to. So, for instance, those who play road tennis, which is huge in Barbados, as we know, who may be wondering, okay, so how do the protocols that have been relaxed apply to us? What are we expected to do when we convene to participate, to watch, to cheer on, to compete in these events? What can you say to them at this time?
Yeah, well, road tennis is one of those sports that is back fully. Sunday night after cricket, I actually went next door to watch at the adjacent complex to watch a competition. So road tennis is back, and I agree with you that we are trying now to trigger all of those sports at community level. My ministry is in the process of rolling out our sports training program that will see our coaches go to different venues all across the island to restart a number of disciplines. So we are satisfied that at the community level outdoors that we can push as hard as possible to get players up to speed again, to get clubs in preparation for competition. So the outdoor activities is not a problem. We are convinced that we can restart in those areas, and we are doing exactly that.
And of course, Barbados, of course, very strong in netball. And I'm turning to the indoor sports. So Mariah asked a question about that earlier. For netball and basketball, indoor activities, maybe in a gym on a Sunday, you'll have 200-300 people gathered for some either community event or club event. What kind of rules are they expected to follow? Will the rules be as relaxed for them as for their colleagues who do the outdoor events?
No, we will be taking particular cautions to ensure that when we return indoors, like you mentioned netball, the national team is now practicing indoors, and we expect that when competition is up and running again, because I believe that the majority of disciplines are requiring maybe like 2 months in order to get all of the teams back up to a fitness level. So we will not go capacity as far as spectators are concerned at the different locations. We will make sure that we have we communicate with the Ministry of Health to ensure that this right spacing in terms of the spectators is in place before we can say, well, yeah, we can go to maximum capacity. So we will go to indoor, but we will try to monitor and ensure that it is still a safe zone.
And the News Minister, coming out of the Eurozone, that a study has shown that infections are again rising in certain parts of the Eurozone due to what the experts say, the swift reopening, relaxation of measures that many governments embarked upon, and the ramifications of that are being felt. I ask this question in that context. Is it that the Ministry of Health is holding the metaphorical sword of Damocles over sports to say, well, if there is a high number of cases linked to that particular activity, then we may order it to be locked down? Or is it that any outbreak linked to any outdoor activity will be treated in a different way, and that the specter of lockdown is simply that, a specter, it won't be real?
Yeah, no, we're working in partnership with the Ministry of Health. We're monitoring the numbers on a daily basis, and if necessary that we need to squeeze a little bit, we will do that. Right now, things are looking pretty good in the country in terms of the COVID cases. So we believe that in partnership with health, we can manage the situation. We will continue to monitor to make sure that at the slightest chance of things escalating again, that we can, put some brakes on it. So the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Sports, we're working in tandem to ensure that we have best practices in every single case.
Yeah, Minister, I know that the BSAC Championship is one of the most anticipated events on the Barbados sporting calendar, Thursday, Friday, at the Usain Bolt complex. Before I ask you an important question about the National Stadium, or the no National Stadium, how excited are the schools for the BSAC Championship this weekend?
Very, very excited. The organizers would have tweaked the whole competition, and they're making some adjustments based on, again, the impact of COVID. So we are satisfied again that all of the necessary things have been put in place. The organizers have done a fantastic job in terms of making the adjustments that would make it easy for this to actually go on. And it is important that they would have planned this event all through COVID so that when we were ready to release sports again, that they were ready to go almost immediately. So, it's really good to see that organizers were planning the process all along.
Yeah, okay. I know it's going to be staged at the Usain Bolt complex, which is a fine complex at the foot of Cave Hill. But it brings me to the question of the National Stadium in Waterford now, Minister Griffith, because it's been a sore point with the sporting fans in Barbados. We have to call it an embarrassment that the National Stadium in Waterford is in the state of disrepair that it is. What sort of commitment can you give to the Barbados sporting public that work is actively being pursued for the resuscitation of the National Stadium, and maybe some timelines at Waterford?
Yeah, I can't, Lance, I can't give you timelines in terms of the National Stadium. What I can say to you is that plans are in train. We're working with the Chinese to ensure that we can have a start as soon as possible. But there's still some areas that we need to work out. We still have to wait on them until, they pull the final trigger to say, yes, we are prepared to go. So I wouldn't want to come here and give any kind of timelines, because then I may not be, on target as far as that is concerned. But what I would say to you is that it is concern to government that we need to get that facility up and running, because we are fully cognizant of how it is impacting sports on the island. Yeah,
and in a nutshell, just before we break, can you just say what has been the hold-up? What's the problem? Because it's been several years.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, again, like I said, working with the Chinese, with their timelines in terms of, they would have indicated that there's some issues related to COVID that would have slowed the process. We have some other major projects on the island that are being funded by them. So it is happening. I can't tell you for sure what is the hold-up on their end. We are ready and we are willing. We're good to go. We're just waiting on the process as far as, the sign-off from them.
Minister Charles Griffith, great to have you on the SportsMax Zone, and we hope that the BSAC meet will be as exciting as it has always been, and good luck to the Barbados sporting fraternity in the coming months.
Thank you.
Yeah, Charles Griffith there, Minister of Sport in Barbados, as the country gets ready to unleash wrath of sporting competitions on the public, which has been waiting so long for it after the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, not after it, but it's still going on. But it's the COVID-19 pandemic that had sent all things haywire globally. We go to break. We'll be back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.